But I couldn't see myself ever asking anyone for food unless it was like late, everything was closed, and I was like totally blasted, like just tanked or fucking stoned out of my mind. Like, chips though? I would want something more substantial. Like, chips ain't gonna cut it. Chips are just gonna make me hungrier.
Let's go scare us up a real meal.
What the fuck is up, internet? Welcome to the channel, where in this video, I'm gonna tell you about this crazy ass story out of Akron, Ohio. Some lunatic shot some random dude for not sharing his potato chips.
Not your chips, because they my chips.
The cops arrested the guy. 42-year-old Melvin Wright allegedly shot this other guy literally in the face for not sharing his chips with him. This did happen outside a place called Lusty's Adventures, so maybe old Melvin just got fed up with hearing the word no. There's a lot to unpack here, right? Like, starting with, what the fuck is wrong with this Melvin dude? 42 years old, and the guy's got, like, the temper of a toddler, man. Like, chill the fuck out. Potato chips, bro? You're trying to catch a felony. Like, you're gonna get some serious jail time for shooting a guy in the head over potato chips. What kind of potato chips were these fucking things?
Potato chips are my favorite.
I'm from Pennsylvania, so Middlesworth is hands down the best potato chip out there. But I'm not gonna shoot a motherfucker in the face over him. There is no way that this is the first time old Melvin here snapped, right? You don't just go from, like, being a normal motherfucker to one day literally pulling out a handgun and pointed at another human being, pulled the trigger, probably expected to kill the guy over potato chips, and not have like a history of some serious fuckery. Like, what is fucking Melvin doing on the street?
Let's lock him up, throw away the key.
My other question is, why is the guy who got shot in the face eating potato chips outside of a strip club?
Because it's fucking weird.
You see these people every now and then just like eating food out walking around. Like, what? If it's like an ice cream cone and maybe you're on like a date or maybe with the fam or something like that, ice cream cones are acceptable. Snacking on a bag of chips while walking down the street that's kind of weird. And this happened on a Tuesday at 9 p.m. Like, walking down the street eating potato chips is weird as fuck. What the fuck's Melvin doing out on a Tuesday night with a gun looking for beef? The nightlife in Akron, Ohio must be off the chain. The story made me think, what would be like the acceptable etiquette for asking a stranger for some of the food that they're actively eating out in public? How could this guy have, like, how could have Melvin scored some of these chips? Like, if you put yourself in that situation, like, first of all, I could never be Melvin. I'm not asking anybody for fucking food. It's food. Like, it is out in the air, and this person's eating it. You don't know the backstory? This dude could have just fucking finger banged some prostitutes or something, and now he's like, man, I am hungry for finger banging all those prostitutes. Now I'm gonna eat some fucking chips. And then Melvin comes along and probably is like, hey man, can I have some of those chips? And maybe dude's like, man, I can't give this guy any of my potato chips. I just finger banged a bunch of prostitutes. But then Melvin pulls out a gun and blasts him. Like, this guy's could possibly have just been trying to be like a good Samaritan.
I'm a good guy!
But I couldn't see myself ever asking anyone for food unless it was like late, everything was closed, and I was like totally blasted, like just tanked or fucking stoned out of my mind. Like, chips though? I would want something more substantial. Like, chips ain't gonna cut it. Chips are just gonna make me hungrier.
Let's go scare us up a real meal.
On the other hand, like, if Melvin came up to me and, like, I didn't just finger bang a bunch of prostitutes and asked me for some of my chips, I'd probably hook him up. I mean, I guess depending on how he asked, maybe Maybe Melvin came with some attitude and this dude was just like, bro, these are my fucking chips. You know what I mean? Regardless of what the prostitute situation is, maybe he's just like, he said it in like a bitchy way or a cocky way or some way that rubbed this dude the wrong way. And he said, fuck you, Melvin. And Melvin, clearly not having any social skills, didn't know how to react being told fuck off, so he shot the guy. Police arrested Melvin on charges of felonious assault and weapons under disability, which I didn't know what under disability meant, so I had to Google the shit, and apparently it's just like he had a gun when he wasn't allowed to have a gun. There's a list of reasons why they can take your gun away from you in the state of Ohio. Fugitive from justice, that makes sense. Was charged or convicted of a violent felony offense. Yeah, shouldn't have a gun. Were charged or convicted of a felony drug offense that involved illegal drug possession, sale, distribution, or trafficking. Now, this is where the line starts to blur a little bit, because when you read that, there's nothing about guns in there. Like, that charge has nothing, like, you can be a drug dealer and not be violent. You shouldn't have to lose your Second Amendment rights if you're not being violent, right? Like, even if you're selling drugs, right? Drugs are like, dude, legal, not legal, just because it's against the law. It's not the same as, like, it's not something as cut as dry as, like, physically harming someone. Like, yeah, that, you can't have a gun when you're doing that. But if you're selling drugs, you're just supply and demand, motherfucker. Here's another one. Dependent on drugs or in danger of being dependent on drugs. Just because you're an addict doesn't mean you're violent. Chronic alcoholics? Dude, I sold beer for a long time and seen plenty of chronic alcoholics. Most of these motherfuckers couldn't even lift a gun. Let alone commit a violent crime with one. Man, these dudes are like pasty and frail, like they got like a fucking 15-pack of Busch Light in them, bro. They're not doing anything. Mentally incompetent, mentally defective, or mentally ill as determined by the court. Now, mentally incompetent, mentally defective, mentally ill. I mean, those are some like kind of vague. Although I guess if you saw somebody who was mentally defective, you'd know that motherfucker was mentally defective.
You are fucking stupid and you are fucking ignorant, Dave.
Or they were ordered to live at a mental institute by the court, which, yeah, if you get sent to the loony bin, yeah, I don't really feel comfortable with you having a gun. But it depends, because what can they actually send you to the loony bin for? I feel like there's not a whole lot of mental health, mental institutions to where people could send you anyway. Like, if you're seeing a therapist, does that count? Is that the same thing? I mean, it's kind of like a flimsy thing, but I don't know. I feel like you can be at a mental institute, you can be mentally defective, but as long as you're not violent, I still think you should be able to own a gun if you want. I don't know. What do you think about that? Somehow this guy managed to get himself to a hospital, and it's like, this is 9 o'clock on a Tuesday night outside a strip club. Did nobody call 911? Were there any witnesses? Did anybody else see this go down? Dude got away with shooting a guy, then left, and then dude had to get himself to the hospital? This neighborhood must be fucking crazy. Either that or fucking dude just said, no, don't call 911. I don't want to pay for the ambulance. The next day at like 6:30 at night, the cops spotted old Melvin getting on a bus. Like, how do you shoot a guy in the face over potato chips and then just go on living your fucking life? Like he was doing chores the next day.
Going shopping!
They arrested him, and he still had the gun on him. Please put Melvin away. Like, this is a person that shouldn't... Yeah, lock this guy away for the whole Weapons Under Disability Act, or whatever that fucking law is. Like, dude is fucking nuts. He's a fucking loose cannon. This guy needs to be behind bars. Who raised him?
It's very possible that these big idiots have made a huge mistake by having these little idiots.
Overall, I just cannot I cannot fathom being angry enough ever to shoot somebody. But like it being so like tiny of a thing that you instigated. Like if you just would have minded your own business and never bothered this guy, like for his food, which is just kind of weird. Unless he's got a gun. He may have came out of a strip club. Like, is this dude like broke, or was he just looking for somebody to fuck with? And this poor son of a bitch, just because he was hungry from finger banging all those prostitutes, decided to snack chips in public, which is still strange in my eyes. And it caught fucking Melvin's attention, and he was just on one, and he wanted to start some shit. And something as small as just eating potato chips in public set this guy off. So let that be a lesson to you. Ice cream cones, man. That's it. Anyway, that's all I got for now. I'll catch you on the next one. Later.